This is the fourth and final module in the series entitled Living Better with Dementia, and there are 4 take-home messages. The importance of asking what people want, what's important to them, nothing about us without us. The importance of inclusion, feeling part of a community and having purpose. We're going to look at what the research tells us about how to live better with dementia, and the importance of support for carers, and that will also include you as a volunteer. The last 3 decades have seen an increased awareness and provision of equal opportunities for people with physical and mental health issues. However, understanding the needs of people with dementia has not been so progressive, but this is starting to change. Groups like Dementia Engagement and Empowerment Project, or DEEP for short, are bringing together groups of people living with dementia from across the UK. And these groups give people with dementia a voice in how services and policies affect their lives. DEEP created the Dementia Words Matter campaign, and it focuses on language used to describe dementia and how that shapes the way we perceive people with the condition and the negative effects it can have. Terms like plague of humanity, the living death, or even the term sufferer. They're often used in print and in the media, and there's little hope or warmth in these terms, and the DEEP guidelines on language give a much more balanced approach. The DEEP website has a wide range of practical guides for carers and people living with dementia, from dementia-friendly websites to advice on travel. And it's important to focus on what can be achieved, not focusing on the negative. The term "nothing about us without us" is incredibly important. How would you like to be supported if you were living with dementia? What would you like to do? How would you like to be referred to? By your first name or as Mr. or Mrs.? We will never know if we don't ask. From the moment we're born, we have a need to become independent beings. We're often busy from the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep. And how we see ourselves and define ourselves means everything to us. A mother, a wife, a colleague, a friend, we're all the sum of our parts. How would it feel to have these parts of our identity taken away from us? If I'm no longer allowed to cook because I burn the food or I tend to use the wrong ingredients, do I still have a role as a wife, a mother? By taking over the task of making something as simple as a cup of tea because you feel that person can no longer do it, we can effectively be de-skilling that individual. And how often does a person living with dementia receive praise for a job well done or a cup of tea well brewed? Cooking a whole meal may prove impossible, but helping in the preparation or stirring the pot can enable a person to feel included, part of an everyday process, maybe part of that community. When a person receives a diagnosis of dementia, people supporting them often feel the most important way to provide care is keeping them safe, wrapping them in that cotton wool. But risk is relative to an individual. To a carer, taking someone for a walk around the park or even going into the garden might be seen as a risky activity. A risk of falling, catching a chill, not to mention the time needed to prepare, transport issues, how accessible the park is. All of these considerations that we can frankly take for granted. But are we doing more harm than good? Are we considering the risk of doing very little and the impact that has on the quality of life? We never put people in harm's way, but with a balanced consideration of risk and with the right support in place, we extend the possibilities for people. Look at these images. Are these people living with dementia? Could these be members of your family, friends, partners, you? In fact, all these images show people with dementia being supported in a way that enables them to enjoy the fun things in life. None of us mean to be disabling. We take over because we simply want to help. But please stop and think, could this person do this activity or task themselves? Or could they do it with the right support from you? Research suggests it may be possible to slow down the decline of dementia and even reduce our risks of living with dementia by up to a third. We can influence this by following a healthy lifestyle, a good diet, being physically active, engaging in social activity, keeping our brains active and spending time outdoors. Spending time outdoors is incredibly important for people living with dementia and carers, as they can often find themselves spending a disproportionate amount of time inside. Research shows that getting outside and maintaining a connection to nature and outdoor activity significantly improves well-being. Just 5 minutes outside each day can help to improve things like your emotional state, physical health, verbal expression, memory and attention, awareness, your sense of well-being, independence, self-esteem and control, and an increased sense of social interaction and belonging. And when we measure a person's brain activity after a 20-minute walk, we can clearly see how much more stimulated their brain is compared to someone who's been sitting down. If you have the time now, or once you've completed this module, maybe you could step over the threshold and just spend 5 minutes in a garden or another green space. How does it make you feel? How would it feel if you couldn't experience this? It might be that music, art, or another hobby is a passion, and any one of these can help to stimulate the brain, encouraging those new connections between neurons. A diagnosis of dementia doesn't just affect one person, it has a huge impact on the lives of partners, children, family and friends. And a carer can make a huge difference to a person living well with dementia, but they need to be in a good state of mind and have the right support to be able to do that. Make sure you're aware of national and local support services, and here are some suggestions. The Alzheimer's Society, numerous carers organisations, Admiral nurses, local authority services. As volunteers, you may need support yourselves. Caring for others can be rewarding, but there can be times when it can be overwhelming and upsetting. Who can support you? And if you see something or hear something you're not comfortable with, you need to make sure you know who to speak to. These types of situations will be covered in your safeguarding training. Make sure you contact your service or operations manager about any concerns that you have. Look after yourself and the people around you. By understanding the nature of dementia and thinking differently about the condition, you can make a positive difference. With your help, people living with dementia, their carers and families can live better, enjoying more adventures and continuing to do the things they love. We hope you've enjoyed training with us and that the information, strategies and advice will help you feel confident in your volunteering role. Please now complete the last set of multiple choice questions and access the final film.